welcome everyone. My name is Kartika and you're watching SynchroShakti. Today we have another interview, a very special one. This is from Vajjrashri, who is a student of many of our courses, but she had multiple journeys that she went through, and I think the learnings that she took were the core, like the things that I've always wanted the world to know. And so she really soaked that in, and that is why I wanted her to share her journey today. So, welcome, Vajrashri, to our interview.
Thank you so much. I feel so beautiful. Like I'm living one of my dreams right now as we are doing this. So this feels incredible.
That's fantastic. So, thank you for being here. I just want to start off with the backstory of what
Yes.
was life like before you came to all of this information, which we will, of course, share with everyone, all your learnings and
Hmm.
lessons and growth. But what was life like before?
Okay. So first I'll introduce myself quickly. Hello everyone. My name is Vajrashri and I have done my architecture, which is where I'll begin my story. And I'm also a writer and right now also an educator. So let's reel back a little bit 5 years ago. I have always wanted to do architecture, and it felt like a very intuitive choice that, this is meant for me. So I took architecture during my undergrad. But what happened is once I stepped into the course, I realized that the way it's presented to the world and the way it actually functions is entirely different. And I had a lot of sleepless nights, and design was not very intuitive to me the way words would flow. So I really had my challenges, and 5 years, entire 5 years, complete struggle. Okay, so I every day I lived with this anxiety, and I was so paranoid that what am I going to do next? Because clearly this was not flowing, and I was not really enjoying it, and there was this big question mark in my head. And when there is uncertainty, your mind just starts spinning a lot of questions. So I used to live with that. And back then, my coping mechanism was journaling. So I would write it all out, and I kept pushing myself through the course. And I have followed this one rule my whole life, that anything I do, I want to do it brilliantly. So even though it was so challenging, I completed the course like really well. Like I got like a best thesis award and phenomenally well. But I was not aligned to it. And right after the course ended, we have an internship semester, which felt like my rock bottom. So during that internship, my self-esteem was so low. Every day felt like a battle. I would not feel like waking up and going there. I was made to feel like I was the most dumb person in the room. And again, I'm not blaming the external environments. I realized it much later that it was my own self-worth that was so low. And I was being treated very, in a rude way. So I was facing a lot of challenges there. But one thing that experience gave me is this is not the life I want. I want a life where I'm genuinely happy every day and I feel like I'm flowing with life. And right after that internship is when I found magical dates with money.
Hmm.
So again, I was at the beginning of my career, and the reason I did that course is, to open up. Like I had no idea about money energy or, energy work. But out of curiosity, I took that quiz which you had posted on YouTube, and I got a sense of direction that most of my thoughts with respect to money were in the lack direction. Because throughout architecture, it's a very bad conditioning that's around, that architecture really badly paid, they're not well paid. So students are often living with this fear that what am I going to do, like, I don't know where the money will come from. So most of my beliefs were fully rooted in lack narrative. And when I did that course, it was a major transformation, and it was almost like a stepping stone towards something bigger. Because right after that is when I discovered Healifest, which was like a complete 360-degree. It was like shedding my whole, the old identity and stepping into a new version. And I'm genuinely, like, you can see it on my face, I am genuinely so happy and joyful, and life feels like a breeze. And I think one thing you have taught me is it is possible to have a perfect life which is full of effortlessness, bliss, harmony. And even with respect to people and our relationships, a lot of it improved. I think now I'll, leave it to you to, navigate this from there.
Navigate
So
from here.
that's been my journey.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing your journey. And I wanted to like plug in a few questions in the backstory, but so you mentioned coming to a YouTube video of mine where I was giving a money quiz. From
Yes.
there, you got into Magical Dates with Money, which is one of our SynchroShakti programs, which is a 30-day money program, if I
Yes.
remember. And then from there, you got into Healifest. And then Healifest was the entire shedding of the past and connecting back to the new, and then life began to flow. So that's the
Yes.
backstory. So at that time, you mentioned that you wanted to have financial freedom, you wanted to feel happy in a place where you were working, you wanted to have that internal sense of flow and oneness with life and that freedom. That is
Mm.
the desire that you had. But what was the initial challenge that you faced on your personal journey? So even though you've done Magical Dates with Money and you've done Healy Fest, on that journey, and this is what I shared even in the most recent class that we were doing. For those who haven't heard of this class, it's called How to Change Your Life in 6 Months Without 5 a.m. Rituals or Forcing Yourself to Be Positive. If you want to register, it's coming on 28th again. And if you're seeing this video after 28th, again, I might be doing it. So check the description for the next date of the class. In that, I was talking about how nobody can stay in alignment all the time.
Right.
It is like you can be in alignment a lot of the times and have a lot of magic, but we tend to stray away. So what were the struggles you went through in your journey of self-actualizing, not just through Healyfast, but just generally as you were practicing all of these things?
Okay, so to give a little bit of context, even during my architecture, I was always deeply invested in a lot of self work, and I would take up workshops where it helps me connect with myself. It was happening in smaller pockets. Okay, so when I started this journey with MDM, what I noticed was it was like a war inside. There were two voices. There was one voice that was, full of light, full of self belief, but there was also this other voice which was full of fear, anxiety, and all the emotions that I kind of layered up through the years. So it took a lot of time to look at that emotion with love, like just sit with that emotion. And my way of dissolving that would be to like write out whatever I'm feeling. So once it was on paper, it's like one layer has, released. And this kept coming up in multiple instances. Look, it was not like after the program was over, I was completely, in a different state of mind. My old patterns would still keep showing up at different instances. But what changed was that I was more aware of it. Like when the thought arrived, I could now look at it. So I think one thing I really learned from you is look at the world with the eyes of the universe. You are not the mind or the body. So I started looking at everything, from that place of oneness and okay, I'm the universe. Now let me watch this play. So when I started observing my own emotions, I started realizing a lot of where my, past trauma or pain was stored and how I could just like release it and breathe through that. So I
Right.
think doing that over time again and again, and also connecting with such a beautiful community, like I genuinely feel the energy of live classes are so like abundant that it's easier to shed those layers very easily than sitting by yourself and journaling. So I think a combination of both really helped me transition from that state to an abundant state of mind.
Super. So that was your plan, was to continue the healing. So as things were coming up, you were observing it, you were healing it, and you were building the strength of that light, and you were building the strength of the alignment and the predominance towards every area of life. So you were beginning to create flow as well. So it was like releasing the stuff that was getting you stuck, and then strengthening
Yes.
the stuff that was making you flow. That is the plan
Can
and
I
the
add
yeah.
one point which
Yes.
will help the viewers? So, one very powerful exercise is whenever the fear comes up, I write. So, this is release and reinforcing the new patterns. So, on the left side, I release all my fears, like every single thought that I can get about it, I release it. And on the right side, I start flipping each thought to a better perspective, an abundant perspective. And just so that our momentum towards the positive one should be more, like you've taught us more. So if I've written 5 negative thoughts, I write 10 positive thoughts and I read through them. So
Mm.
what I'm doing when I'm reading is I'm internalizing that energy. Like we always speak, it is such an energetic universe, right? So when I'm done releasing the past, fears and everything, I start reading the new affirmations. So I write it in past tense, like it's already happened, so that when I read it, I'm already living that reality, and eventually I'm vibrating at a frequency where it matches, my
Super.
reality.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at the achievements. Okay. So
Yes.
we will get to all the lessons, learnings, all that soon. But first, to give them a context of why those lessons and learnings have been impactful, let's give them the actual achievements first. So
Yes.
from the first MDF, when you did magical dates with us, you were already part of like a ton of the success stories, because I put you in one of the other webinars as well, and you're in the current webinar also. I don't know if you know. You're
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I was taking photos
Yes.
from your life. So I know that we have like this huge list of crazy life manifestations that you've had.
Yeah.
But let's begin with like from magical dates onwards, what were the different things that you manifested?
So I want to start by saying I started maintaining this miracle journal. So I started writing
That's
down
ours. That's
every.
our book. Okay.
Yes.
That's a Shakti book.
Okay, that's too bright, but
It's
yeah.
bright. Oh, there, I can slightly see it when you moved here. Now I can see. It's basically this book.
Let me just
Those who
one
can't
second.
see it is this book. You can buy it on, maybe I'll put a
Okay,
link.
yeah. I don't know why it's not. Oh yeah, now you can see it.
Yeah, yeah. Can
Anyway.
see. Hmm.
So I started maintaining this miracle journal where every time I felt like I achieved something or success story, I started writing it down. And it was absolutely magical because you know how we say where your thought goes, energy flows. So the more I was focusing on the miracles, I was really strengthening this identity that I am a miracle magnet.
Yeah.
And I love that you called me that one day, and I just like I picked on that, and I was like, I am a miracle magnet, and so many miracles started happening. And I want to start sharing one of the most like magical moments of my life, which was I got an opportunity to sit with Anuv Jain and have a conversation with him. Now,
Who was
this
your
means,
favorite singer for since forever?
yeah, I'm giving that context. Now, this means the whole world to me. I'll tell you why. Because throughout school, like since the 12th grade, I was listening to his music. And it was his music that kind of carried me through all the difficult phases through architecture. And I have a very deep personal connection with every song. And there was a podcast where he spoke about his teenage self, where I got a glimpse of how he used to be when he was a teen. And, I really connected to his being. So when that happened, this was back in college, I got a real dream where I was sleeping. So it was a beautiful auditorium where I was sitting next to Anuv Jain. Nobody in the hall knew that was Anuv Jain because he was, in a black hoodie. He didn't want to be noticed because of, people are always crowding him. But I figured it out that it was him. This was my actual dream that I got. And I went and sat next to him, and we had a beautiful conversation about life. I still remember the conversation from my dream. It was that vivid. And then that happened 2 years later after I joined Healifest. I got this opportunity on Instagram where they said, there's an opportunity for you to meet Anuv Jain if you're a super fan. I was very curious and I naturally went and filled up the form. There were many questions which would really identify super fans. And post that, there were like 5 levels of screening that happened.
Oh
Now
my
to give
God,
you
5 levels.
5 levels. Now, to give you context on Anuv Jain's fan base, he has like 22 million fans and views. So somehow in my mind, I was like, this is mine because I know I'm so like, I deserve this. Like I know I'm like the most true fan because I've been there when he was just a regular guy on YouTube who had posted his first single, video. So I was like, this is, it's destined for me. And I got through all the 5 levels, and there were two people who got selected in the end, out of which one was me. Now, it so happened that it clashed with a trip that my family had planned to Trivandrum. But they were also very supportive because they know the love I had for him. And we booked an Airbnb, and I got that opportunity to really sit with him in Trivandrum and, just talk about life. And he spoke about his dreams, and we really just connected. And it was such a beautiful moment. There was one moment during that whole process where I told him my name and we started talking, and he's like, just a moment, can I call you Vajj? And I lost it. I was like, that's what my best friends call me. Please call me Vajj. And, yeah, even till today, I'm like, that happened for real. Like he knows my existence now. So
That's
yeah, that
phenomenal.
was absolutely
That's
magical.
manifesting a celebrity, like, but also somebody you've connected with for so long. So how special that is. But also, out of 22 million people, it was you, and you said something so powerful, which is also Healifest teaching, is being in
Yeah.
the knowing. You were
Yeah.
in the knowing that this is my destiny. That is alignment. You already knew in your being. If not now, someday anyway, I know it's my destiny. That's alignment. So fantastic. So that was the Anup Jain experience. You've got a
Yeah.
lot more experiences to share. So what else
Yes.
did you manifest?
Okay, the second one. Now, I will, as we are talking about the second story, I'll tell you one major thing that has completely transformed my life. So, now the second one was I again manifested a meet with Sandeep Maheshwari. Now, ever since I was a little girl, like since sixth grade, it was his videos that really shaped my thought process. And I would watch a lot of his videos to get a sense and perspective about life. So that's where I feel my core values and principles have come from. And I had written in my journal back in school people I want to meet, and the first name was Sandeep Maheshwari. Many years later, when I was in college, there was an opportunity to meet him in a spiritual session. I am also really interested in the idea of spirituality. So I signed up for that. Like I sent an email and I forgot about it. Nothing happened for a whole year. Like 1 year later, when I was during the whole Healifest journey, I got a mail that I'm shortlisted and I would have to fly down to Delhi within a week, which was also fast. I was like, wow, give me a moment. Like it's Sandeep Maheshwari. I've watched him my whole life. And now suddenly it's like, boom, you get to meet him. I was like, that's incredible. And so they sent out like the shortlisted email and the invite, and I had to fly down to Delhi in 2 days. Like I had like a gap of 2 days, and I was like, how am I going to manage this? At that point, I did freak out a little bit for like half a minute or something, and then I was like, you know what? Let me just surrender this to the universe because there are so many things I had to take care of, like flights, accommodation. How am I going to, go around there? I just completely surrendered to the universe. I said, you have given me this opportunity. Now you take care of it. Like from here, I don't know how it's going to work. And within half an hour, my father arranged the money for the flights. I booked the tickets, flight tickets done. And there was a like SynchroShakti student called Unmun who I had connected over phone calls, during the course. And I remembered that she lives in Delhi. So I reached out to her if it's possible to stay there. She immediately welcomed me into her home. She's like, please come over. And she had a few family members who were traveling at that particular, date.
Wow. Wow.
So she had a room empty for me. I was like, that's, divine timing. And so I booked the flights and I landed there. Do I share my health manifestation also along with this?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So what happened is before taking that flight to Delhi, some argument or fight happened at home where I was carrying a lot of anger. And when I landed there, I was somehow this
Anger
vibrational
manifested as fever.
fever, like extremely viral fever. Look, and I was so tired. Like immediately I landed there, I couldn't even go around Delhi. I was just sick in that bed. And honestly, that whole experience living in Unmun's house was so familiar. I was also feeling like already been here. It was so like home. And all I did was just take rest. I could only show up to that interview with Sandeep Maheshwari and come back. And then I was just on the bed. And really in a very weak state. And coincidentally, I got my period as well. And one of the nights when I stayed there, I also fainted, which had never
Whoa.
happened to me before.
Whoa.
So I was like,
Hmm.
what is happening? But I remembered your teaching that just observe the pain, it's okay, and keep manifesting pure positive health. So I kept thanking the universe that thank you for this pure positive health as if it's already happened. And we had a Healifest class that evening. The next morning was my flight. I couldn't even sit for class that day. I remember not having my camera on and just, trying to be. And I was like, I have to travel back solo from Delhi to Bangalore in a flight. It was my first solo flight. I had never done that earlier. How am I going to do this? And while I was sleeping, I literally prayed to the universe. I'm like, when we wake up, I'll be in a state to walk and reach Bangalore safely. And it happened. Somehow when I woke up, my, nasal passage had cleared up. I could breathe because till the previous evening, I was struggling to even breathe. Like existence was such a problem. And next day, everything had just cleared up. And that's when I realized the power of surrendering and also future pacing. Like saying sentences like it's already happened. Like, thank you for pure positive health. Thank you
But
for this
actually,
abundance.
really feel the words that you're saying than just to say it. Because
Yeah.
the vibration in that, because if you remember in Healifest, and I don't know which other courses, there's a couple of audibles on the three fever stories. And
Yes.
and one of my fever stories was the whole thing I had to fly the next day, and this was during COVID, and would they even let me through because of the fever? And then how like in 15 minutes, like I was in deep fever in 15 minutes of the song,
Yeah.
Every Little Cell, and
Yes.
vibrating higher than the disease. You remember that story? I
Yes.
immediately got up, packed, and the next day I was like, no fever, nothing, no medication, went through the whole thing, energy, everything. 15 minutes of healing, which would have otherwise taken a week or something by the, you know, I don't know how the flow would have been. But I got up, but it was similar to you. You future pace that I'm going to be good. I'm going to be able to go there. I know in my being, thank you for that pure positive health. So you vibrated there. Then just saying it, it was a vibration of the sentences.
True. I also remember your African song dance that
African
you
song.
did because I started doing that as well. And when you play something where the music beat is so high frequency, I think that shift happens
Yeah, you
naturally.
vibrate higher than the disease. That's all healing. All healing is vibrating higher than the disease. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, the second story was, incredible. I gave Sandeep Maheshwari a letter, which, I was just so happy. Like this second dream of my life, again, meeting somebody I've loved my whole life. So yeah, really
Fantastic.
beautiful experience.
Awesome. Let's go to another one. Let's go to the next part of your story.
So, my sister is a chess player. She's taken chess full time and she also does, chess coaching. So, ever since she was a little girl, she's been watching all these chess interviews of people. And in India and around the world, chess had not been this famous earlier. Like, it was like a very niche field. So, I've been watching those videos ever since then. Like, when Gukesh was literally like a 6-year-old giving an interview. And I would be so inspired by this kid. Like he was so young but playing so brilliantly. So I've always rooted for him. And the I never imagined that he would become the world champion at such a young age. So when that happened, it was such a reinforcing moment for me because he's been somebody in my vortex who's been a normal human being who was still working towards his dreams. And he had that arc where now he succeeded and the whole world is looking at him like a star. So that reinforced my dream that if he is in my vortex, it's definitely meant for me as well. So that's how I started looking at it. Now, when that whole incident happened, when he won the world championship, incredibly happy. Like I was
I
so
remember
happy.
because you emailed us, you even
Yeah,
posted on the feed the moment when Gukesh won world champion at 18, chess champion.
true. So right after that, there was a celebration event that happened in Bangalore. Now my sister is deeply passionate about chess, and she's always looking at all these websites. Hoping if there's like a meet and greet, we can go and meet them. But that one particular day, she didn't open her laptop, and we missed the slots. When we opened it the next day, tickets were sold. We did not get a chance to sign up for meeting Gukesh. We were really disheartened, but we knew it that it's going to happen somehow. Like my sister is also into energy and manifestation, so she had this full belief. I don't know how, but it's going to happen. We often wonder, how is anything going to happen? How am I going to get money? How will my grades improve? Everything is about the how, right? When the mind starts the chatter. So I think we kept that how aside because we just believed that it is going to happen. And after 3 days, a school friend of mine called me, who was also a chess player. She said she had some extra tickets, and if you would like, please join me. So, and my sister and I, yeah, and my sister and I looked at each other and we're like, we knew it. It's going to happen somehow.
You are in the
So then
knowing. You're in the know.
in
That's
the
the
knowing.
yeah, the big knowing. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we went to the auditorium. We had this beautiful opportunity to sit so close to the world champion and just the energy in the room. And not just one world champion, there was also Vishy Anand in the room. So can you
Mm.
imagine the brilliance in the room? It was just shining through, and I was just like soaking in all that energy. It was an incredible experience.
And you
Yeah.
had, I don't remember, but I think a day before this, you had emailed me that you wanted to send a letter, you wanted to manifest
Yes.
meeting
Yes.
Gukesh so you could actually give him a letter. I remember this
Yes.
email. And so that letter that you had written to him, did you end up being able to give it to him?
There is a story to that too. So my love language is writing letters to people because I just love writing it all out. And just like that, I wrote a letter. Now, this is the second letter I've written to Gukesh because before this, there was once a different event. I had met him, and my sister had created these bookmarks which were very unique of all his childhood pictures. So that was something he remembered, hopefully. So I was hoping that he remembers us when I give him this second letter. But obviously now it's different. He was the world champion. There was so much of protection around him. I couldn't easily go meet him and give him that. And I still didn't lose my belief or trust. I was like, I know this is going to reach him somehow. We
Knowing,
walked
being in
out,
the
and
knowing again and again.
being
You're
in the knowing.
in the knowing.
I walked out, and there is a person called Sagar Shah, who is like the chess journalist in the chess world. So he interviews all the players and goes around to tournaments. So he knows me from a previous tournament. He knows that I speak really well, and he knows that I'm Harshini's sister. So I got to meet him at the entrance, and he was living in the same hotel as Gukesh. So when I spoke to him, he was like, I can give you the letter, like I'll hand it over to him. And he took my letter and it reached Gukesh finally. So it was just brilliant. It was like
Beautiful.
Gukesh made this statement after his final match. He said, God makes the best moves. And I so believe in that. Like universe will start clearing your pathway when you're in that knowing. And this is legit proof that it was almost in a state where I could have believed that, okay, maybe I won't meet him or it might not happen, but I didn't let go of that faith. And it just happened. Like I met Sagar Shah and he gave the letter to Gukesh. And at this point, I want to tell everybody something I've realized during our journey throughout Healifest and Magical Dates. There are different stages of hope. So it starts with hope, and then as you build that self-esteem and trust in the universe, it moves on to belief. Belief is when you really feel and know this will happen. And after belief is trust, when your mind has less chatter and more good silence, where you're like, okay, I know the universe is taking care of it. And after trust is surrender, where you're completely like not worried because universe is doing all the heavy lifting. So I feel I've had that journey from in every journey. I feel like every manifestation, it starts with hope, belief, trust, and then surrender. So it becomes easy when you like fully let go of it, I feel.
Fantastic, really well said.
Yeah.
So, of all the other manifestations that I know of, is from these, but also you started manifesting the speaking, like being paid to speak. Now
Yes.
you're
Yes.
teaching right off
Yeah.
college, like you started. Where
Yes.
will I make money? You already started making money. You also came for meet and greet. You were the host for meet and greet.
Yes.
That also, we just somehow thought of you and we pulled your name, said, okay, she's going to be the one to
Yeah.
host it.
Can I
And
share that as well?
yes,
The
yes, of course.
story.
Yes,
So when
yes.
I was doing magical dates with money, I absolutely felt I found the value in that course and I really wanted to do Healifest. So during that whole Healifest journey, when I was about to sign up, I had reached out to Kartika saying, can I do it in installments or can we collaborate and I want to like work with you. But at that point, you told me that you write your own content. So in the future, if I ever need you, I will reach out to you. And I was okay with that, but I just had this desire that I want to work with you at some point. And when you asked for the meet and greet emceeing gig, it was such a full circle moment for me. I was like, I was not even, like there's no pressure. Like I had just put that wish out there in the world and it just happened to find me. And I'm so glad that happened. It was such a magical day.
Right. And you
Yeah.
met Rahul also on that day, who was also
Yes.
on your list of people to meet. That's great.
Yeah.
So, let's look at the lessons and learnings here. So this is, I
Yes.
think, the more important part that I wanted to, because yes, it's all wonderful manifestations, but let's look at the deeper lessons and learnings that you got. One of the things that you have taken a lot from Healifest was the love is a magnet. I want you to
Yes.
tell us all the biggest lessons that have made the strongest impact in your life, and say it in your way, because the way that you've interpreted has been the absolute spirit of how I wanted it to be seen. So
Yeah.
please do share.
Yes, I actually quickly made a list of what I wanted to share. First one, this was the first lesson of Magical Dates with Money. Love is a magnet. And I have been somebody who is an empath. Like, I genuinely look at the world with love. So this was very easy for me to inculcate. So I've always been somebody who's hypersensitive. Like, I feel emotions with a very large intensity. And usually some people would say, it's looked at like a sign of weakness, but I always knew it was my strength. So I converted that and, started focusing on love, just being love, giving love. And that was a game changer, because one thing I realized, actually now is the right time to talk about relationships and people. So this exercise of loving thoughts, genuinely, like, it can transform any relationship, no matter how much pain you carry, or like whatever your dynamic is at the moment. Start sending loving thoughts to them, one or two a day, and you will start noticing how they behave differently towards you. It's like cleaning up that energy river between you and the other person. And that's one of the most beautiful lessons I've learned, that love is a magnet. It applies to money as well, because I started writing love letters to money, where more opportunities started opening up, a lot of freelance projects, and the open house project that I'm doing right now, where I'm literally getting paid to play games with kids while I'm teaching public speaking. This was on my list when I was manifesting a job, that want to get paid to talk, want to get paid to flow through life. And kids are the most, divine form. Like, they're so innocent and pure. And the fact that I get to spend time and energy with them, I'm genuinely so happy and grateful. So first lesson was love is a magnet. Second one, I've shared this throughout the entire interview so far, which was love and surrender. So one thing I have believed is, no matter what the problem or question is in your mind, the answer is always love and surrender. If it's about work, just start putting more love into it. If it's a conflict with a person, again, love. And any area of life, health, also love. Send love to the body part that you're, wanting to heal. So one thing is love. And when it feels like it's beyond your reach, surrender it, because the universe is anyway working for you. So might as well just drop all your thoughts and like really give it to the universe. So that one. Second one, love and surrender. So every time I catch myself having that chatter, I just pause and say, what can I do in this moment? It's either love or surrender. Third one is, when man says no, the universe says yes. This is such a powerful one, because, and here, when man says no, applies to my own internal voice as well. Like, if there's a part of me that is, doubting this manifestation, will it work or not? I consider myself to be that voice. When man says no, the universe says yes. And I've had multiple experiences, like even the Gukesh story, where I didn't get to meet him, but it was basically men, like the bodyguards were telling no, but universe made a way and, gave the letter to him. So when man says no, the universe always says yes, if you are aligned to it. Next one is the most easiest one. I feel like everybody should do this every day. Gratitude. It's the easiest way to connect to the universe. If we say universe has a certain language, right? And I've realized that gratitude is like that doorway where you can immediately connect to the universe. So I do a list of, things I'm genuinely grateful for, and like feel it in your heart. Like, you should feel that light and love, and count your blessings. And you often tell this, that we have an acknowledgement problem.
We don't
So
have a
start
problem. We
acknowledging
have
what you already
yes,
have.
yes. Actually, this
Yeah.
I wanted to share this. I wanted to add this in the class. Again, I'm just pitching the class to everyone. We're doing a class called "How to Change Your Life in 6 Months," where I'll be telling you this whole lifestyle that she's talking about. I'm teaching it in a methodized way. step by step in this class. It's free, it's 2.5 hours. You're also going to learn how to stay consistent with this practice even when your motivation dips. Time free, guilt free way of staying consistent with your inner work. You're also going to learn how to change situations and people, just like Vaj said, without forcing anything outside or nagging them, but just simply working on the inside. So if you're curious about that, you can register below. There'll be a link. It's on Zoom, so it'll be limited. So make sure that you register. But this is something I wanted to add to the class is the Myron Goldman was talking about this, and he said if you look at like the whole Adam and Eve story of the forbidden, fruit in the forbidden tree, they were given full access to all the other trees, full abundance they had, and the trees
Right.
are in the periphery. They had access to ultimate access to all the other trees except one tree, the one that they lacked, right? Access to. But because there's one tree that they lacked, they went past all their abundance and focused only on what they lacked and then ate the fruit from that tree, which obviously caused all the whatever stuff that came from after that.
Right.
But this is what we do in when we teach in Healifest. We don't have a life problem, we have an acknowledgement problem, because what you focus on is what ends up becoming like it's like the magic spell, right? It's what magnifies majorly is people. And I have done this a million times. I've in my one-to-one coaching, group coaching, I have seen people who immediately say, I got nothing, nothing to be grateful for, no abundance in my life. These are all people who put blinders on the lack and not seen, but there's infinite abundance to be acknowledged and infinite support to be acknowledged. We're not acknowledging it, but when you acknowledge it, you have unlimited access to all the abundance of this universe as you acknowledge the abundance that is currently surrounding you. Shortcut method, basically.
Yeah,
So
so
just want
true.
to that.
Yes, absolutely. And another one, along with gratitude, is this beautiful exercise about identity. I am someone who dash. So whatever you fill after that, you start becoming that person. So I am someone who attracts money effortlessly, or whatever you want in your life. And I started writing these.
This one is from
Again,
SPL. I'm someone who is from Magical Dates, right? Not from Healifest.
yes,
Yeah, yeah. Or
I
in
did it in
Healifest.
both the courses, but
Okay.
some
Yeah,
magical dates as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it was a really like life-changing statement, actually. I am someone who flows through life. I am someone who is always joyful. I am someone who's magnetic. I am someone who people listen when I speak. And I started seeing this in my reality.
Mm,
Like instantly you start noticing that energy shift from people towards you. So
that,
that
that's fantastic.
the final big piece, which is like the most, important piece of the entire jigsaw puzzle, was the self-esteem exercise.
Mm.
This was the self-appreciation that we did. Like we built that momentum for 6 months and even
Months
now
and
continuing.
continues, but I was like strict to make sure that we did it every single day, no skipping. If you couldn't do it in class, you had to do it as homework, and you had to do it the next day during the homework day. But self appreciation, we did it every single day for six months, yeah, and continuing.
Yeah. Yeah. And to just give a context of how you can do it, you can appreciate yourself for anything you've done that day or anything you've done in your life. Just anything you appreciate about yourself. I appreciate how creative I am. I appreciate how bold I am. And when I started writing these statements, I could see that my self esteem was getting cleansed first and then getting strengthened, and absolutely magical. Like I had this very beautiful moment. I've shared this in one of the interviews earlier, like in our class, but I want to share it now. I have a mentor from my architecture school called Glyn Ma'am. I have looked up to her my whole life, like from day one. And she also is somebody who writes. So I really resonate to her personality. So on my graduation day, I got these really beautiful pictures and I had storied one of the pictures and I wrote a blog about my journey of 5 years. She wanted to share that blog, and when she posted her story, she wrote this really powerful line where she said, I saw the spark in her eyes 5 years ago and it's still there today. But only now I wish I can become half the person she's blossoming into. And I did not expect that. Like hearing that from a mentor who I have always looked up to, all of that was the self-esteem and appreciations magic, because it was nothing was, conscious. Like I kept doing my self-work. The way I started looking at myself, the world started looking at me that way. So that is one major learning that I've had, and just so grateful for this lifestyle. Like doing these 2 3 things every day, it puts everything into perspective, and you just start flowing through life.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vaj, for sharing that. That's really phenomenal. So, if somebody is watching this and they don't know where to start, where would you tell them would be starting point for them to begin to change their life?
It is definitely gratitude. Make a list of things that you are genuinely grateful for and thank the universe from your heart. Like the more you start thanking, you will start seeing more of that in your life. And then it builds momentum, it becomes a pattern. So you will be, focusing on the light and attracting more light into your life. Yeah.
Fantastic, great. So I think that's something everyone can start immediately. Super, well done. So, Vaj, thank you for sharing your entire journey, and of course, so much that is still unshared. I'll be talking about Vaj's story a little bit as well in the class that I was talking about. Again, just a pitch to remind you. It is in the description. You can register. Again, I can't teach anyone to ride a bike in a small video, but I can do a lot more in a 2.5 hour free class. Register and come there, and of course I talk about so many Healifest student stories, but we break it down into what they did. But majorly you're learning the entire A to Z of the method, the this lifestyle that she spoke about. We've broken it down methodized step by step. Also how to stay consistent in a time-free, guilt-free way. Also how to change people and situations without forcing anything outside. If you're interested in that, go ahead and register, and I look forward to seeing you in that class. And thank you, Vaj, for the
Thank
insights.
you. I want to end with one statement that came to me during one of my meditations. And it was such a beautiful line. It was this, that the only shore that you need to reach in life is not places, but yourself. And I think you have taught me how to connect to myself and just look into that inner world and clean up your pain and also manifest such a beautiful, phenomenal life. So thank you for being such a beautiful, radiant light in my life. I
Mm.
love you, and I will see you soon.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. It's always been a
Yeah.
joy, and it's been such a joy to read your work. I think I already said that you'll be a future Pulitzer Prize winner, and I still stick by it.
Yes.
It's in
Thank
my
you.
knowing. It's in my knowing that you will be definitely best-selling author. And so, of course, you're so young. You're just fresh out of college, and you've already gotten so much, in your bedrock. I can't wait to see how far you go with this. And I always say I always attract winners in my academy. Even if the people don't know they're winners, I attract. In fact, I was telling somebody wanted to join Inner Circle recently, and I was like, "Oh, Inner Circle, it's like a bunch of very high achievers." And then I pitched it to her so that she knows that she's a high achiever, but it triggered in her the feeling of, "Oh, but I'm a loser, so I can't join Inner Circle."
Oh
I said,
God.
"No, I pitched it to you because you're the winner," and she didn't see it in herself. I could see the genius in her. She couldn't see it. But
Yeah.
yeah, you guys are all phenomenal, and I'm so happy and appreciative that you all are in my experience, and very very proud and
I
genuinely.
started affirming that actually. I'm a Healifester and success is my native language. And the more you say it, the more it starts happening.
That's
So,
so cool.
yeah.
Awesome. I'm so proud of my Healifesters. So, okay, what you were saying, one more thing. So she said the video, the course, she made her best friends also go through it and then lead
Yes.
the example. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I took that quiz on the money status, like your state of mind with respect to money. And I just found that so curious and fun to just, introspect. So I sent it out to my best friends as well. And initially, when I took the first month of Magical Dates with Money, a lot of people were skeptical. They were like, "Are you sure you're doing like a manifestation course?" And there were a lot of questions in the air. And I just kept at it. I was like, it just feels right. I am aligned to it. Let me see how this unfolds. And then they saw how my life unfolded after that, and they were just mind blown. They're like, "Wow, can you teach me as well?" So, just how we say always lead by example, I think it happened. Like when they saw me being so genuinely happy and peaceful, they were also happy, but a part of them wanted to learn. Like now they were feeling inspired to, learn about it. They were curious about it. And I'm so happy to tell you that I've actually taught all of these, like gratitude, future pacing, to so many of my closest friends. And they have manifested a bunch of wonderful things like favorite projects and, a lot of things. So I just love the ripple effect that we have from here. I always feel like Synchro Shakti is like this big, beautiful ball of light that's glowing, and wherever you go, you're just like spreading light. And
Thank you.
I take that light from you.
You
Yeah.
know what I take from you? It's like all these things that I say these things, I teach these things, but there's a voice in my head that's like, are people really understanding? Are they getting this? Are they seeing the value of this? And then I have
Yeah.
you who really took it in and like now reflected back to me by like the universe telling me, yeah, people are really understanding it. They're really taking it to heart. And I mean, you're basically the whole reason why I do my coaching. So this makes me feel so like full circle moment. Like thank you. Like someone said, I think it was Juliet who said in Healifest, she's like, "Thank you, Kartika, for heeding your call. Otherwise, we would not benefit." And that's a feeling I get. It's like, Kartika, thank you for heeding your call, because I'm so glad that I'm seeing myself reflect myself as in my truth reflected back through what
But
you're
oh,
sharing.
absolutely. I think you have kind of morphed mini coaches in each one of us where we know how to, treat our own mind like your inner child. And I want to add one more thing. I felt the energy of gratitude flowing in between us. And whoever is watching this video till here, you're definitely vibrating so high
I
that you
know.
stayed till this part. So, there's so much magic coming your way. So,
Guys,
yes.
again, want to know more about the Healifest method? I'm telling it for free. Come study it. It's in the description. Come for the class. I love you all. Thank you for joining me, and please thank Vaj in the comment section as well, and let us know what were the major lessons you took, because she broke everything down in such a wonderful way. So thank you, and I appreciate.
Thank you.
I'll
Yes.
see you. I'll see you soon.
Virtual hugs. Yes.
Virtual hugs to
Bye.
everybody. Bye. Awesome.